programs. Welcome back to ArcNeo Reviews, finally, and welcome back to what is very noticeably not my normal setup. I'm doing something a little bit different today, and so I had to kind of make this work, as is. But today, for fun, I'm actually going to be going over something I found online that I thought was really, really cool. And those are Hexacube dice. So I'm sure you're noticing very quickly, those are weird shaped dice, and yes, they are. That is the entire point of these things. I do have 3 sets here, so I'll split them up really fast. But the point is that these things are an alternative to your normal 7 dice set, or 7 dice set. I can never remember which is which on, being correct. But either way, these are made by one guy. His name's James. I've actually contacted him about doing this video. He has supplied a little bit of graphics and actually an explanation for how these work. So, first thing that we'll go over is, very quickly, how you tell the dice apart. Because I'm sure if I was to lay out, a set of 7 standard dice, be very obvious. Here it's a little weirder. So, the first way to tell is, and you do actually get like a little card that explains these things. But the first way to tell is actually just by looking at one of the hex sides and seeing if the numbers are on it vertically or tall like this, or wide like that. So the ones that the 4, 6, and 8 are tall like this, and whenever you're looking at the highest number on a die, you will have a dot on there as well. So you've got your D4, you've got your D6, and you've got your D8. And you can see even on the squares, the 8 stands up tall. Then here you have your D12, which is sideways. Your D10, again, sideways. Your percentile, I've heard these called a few other things. Your tens place die. This is, it's another D10, obviously. It's just got double numbers instead of single numbers. Exactly what you would expect. And then you get this thing, which, this thing confused me a little bit. But this is what he calls the binary die. So the way that you roll a D20 with this would be to roll the 10 and the binary. And I will just really quickly, right here you can see, shows you how this all works. The D20 does basically become a second D100 in its way. But I won't lie, they take a little bit of getting used to when you first, look at them. But with a little bit of time, you will start kind of catching on. And once you do, I find that these are genuinely just as fair to use as normal dice. Because at the end of the day, I know someone out there is going to be complaining that something about the probability doesn't quite work out. Anyone who's played RPGs for a while will tell you that you can sit there and do all the nice little number crunching you want to make sure that you've got your probability odds nice and even. Probability goes out the window as soon as you actually start rolling dice. The dice do not care about probability. They do what they want to do. So I spent a few weeks actually just playing different RPGs where I'd roll my normal 20-sided die on the side, but then I'd roll this beside. And same with, D6s and, other stuff. And I can honestly say, I actually found these in, obviously my somewhat limited testing. I found these to actually be more reasonable and fair than a normal, D20 was. So, and same goes for the other numbers, obviously. To just read his explanation, his explanation specifically deals with this die here. You'll see that there's a little notch beside the 4. That is telling you right off the bat that this is the die that replaces a die 4. So I'm going to pop up the graphic he provided and really quickly, as smoothly as I can, read through his little explanation of these. This is what a hexacube looks like if you were to unfold it and look at all sides. This is a D4, a 4-outcome die. All hexacubes are 18 sides. 6 are square, 12 are irregular hexagons that he refers to as hexes. Now, 18 is not divisible by 4. If you put each number of the 4 outcomes on 4 sides, you would have 2 blank sides left over. What makes a hexacube fair is that the size of the squares and hexes have been adjusted so that the squares come up twice as often as hexes. So, if there is a 1 on a square, you would need a 3 on 2 hexes to make those outcomes occur the same percentage of the time. If you count each outcome on this D4, but counting each square side twice, you will see that each outcome comes up to 6. This makes it a fair die. All other die work in a similar manner. Counting the squares twice, there are 24 divisions of probability. Remember, each of the D4 outcomes came up to 6. 6 times 4 is 24. There are 2 types of hexacubes. One geometry is for factors of 24, and the other one for factors of 30. This second geometry has squares that come up 3 times as much as a hex. These 2 geometries can make all of the traditional polyhedral dice, from D4 to D100. With 2 other geometries, hexacubes can make fair, pleasant-to-roll dice from D3 through D10, and also interesting multiples of 10 like D50s. Now, that second part is a little bit of the second reason I'm doing this. I know that he is getting ready to do a second round of Kickstarter, which will not only make, you know, the normal ones of these available in more colors, but it will also get what I know he was going to call the Diceling, or not Diceling, Oddlings, Hexacube Oddlings, which were, it was a way to, you know, roll a combination of these. You have a D50, a D30, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. So enough like random rambling about what, you know, the provided stuff. This is not a paid thing. This is something I wanted to do because he did try to kickstart these Oddlings once already. The Kickstarter didn't work through, but he's going to be relaunching. I want to kind of get word out about these things so that there's better chance of round 2 working, because I really like these things. I really like these things, and I want there to be more of them. So they're funky. They take a little bit of getting used to, but they are very much worth getting used to. Now, I will put a link down in the description to the website where he sells these ones. All 3 of these are just standardly available. When the Kickstarter for like new colors and the Oddlings or whatever he's doing comes out, I will also put a link to that in the pinned comment and in the description. These things are really cool, you know, and, you know, again, I can't say, you know, oh, they're completely mathematically 100%, you know, these are for RPGs. These are not the dice that you take down to Vegas and play with. And if they were, hey, look, that's not the D6. Give me 1 second. The D6 has every number on it 3 times, which means that it is actually still just a perfectly normal, you know, standard dice that just happens to have a weird shape. So these things are funky. They're really fun. You're definitely going to get some looks when you start using them. And again, I do find that they roll pretty fairly, you know? Like, I'm sure someone's going to sit here already and be, you know, tallying up what I got from sitting around rolling, you know, these two like it's a D20, and you know, I can, the numbers are weird, okay, but that's dice for you. I'm also not doing the best job of rolling them. Normally when I roll stuff in a game, there's, you know, I've got my personal rule of make sure that they hit the wall and stuff like that, and I use a little dice tower. And worth mentioning, by the way, even for the weird shape that these are, they do work just fine in what is actually my most restrictive dice tower of all. This is actually part of this thing. I'm going to do a video on this at some point because I like it too. But you know, the tightest, you know, dice get stuck in it all the time dice tower that I have uses these just fine. And especially when it comes to like the smaller dice, like the D4, I will infinitely choose to roll this thing over a normal D4 any day, just because this thing actually rolls, unlike most D4s where they just go out and they go thunk, and that's all. So, again, that's my 2 cents on these things. I really, really enjoy them. I find that, again, my testing, and I'm sure that this guy put a lot of work into, like, really nailing down the numbers and stuff. These are, like, just as evenly spread, if not actually a little bit more evenly spread than your standard dice. So, definitely worth checking out. Again, links to things will be down below. And with that, I will say, thank you guys for watching. And as always, I will see you next time.